Hey, what's up, guys? Ruff here. So to be once again talking about Sweet Baby Inc. It has been a while since we've talked about this consulting firm. However, recently there's been some quotes shared from its CEO, Kim Belair, that are quite ridiculous, and you'll understand why in just a few minutes. She is talking about one of the biggest challenges when it comes to the gaming industry, and that is, of course, white male gamers. Because that is, of course, the focus of someone like Kim Belair, who is hustling DEI and other things to make a profit. She has to blame someone for all of the woes of the industry, including her own shortcomings. And of course, that target for all of the blame is going to be white male gamers. Now, for those who are not familiar with Sweet Baby Inc., I want to really use this as an opportunity to introduce to you one of the symptoms of a very troubled industry. Sweet Baby Inc. is a seemingly small group of people. It is a woke consulting firm that has a very large impact, despite the fact only a small number of people work on their team. Their entire purpose is to reach out to developers and to convince them that these developers have to work with them. Otherwise, they're going to lose out on sales. They might get canceled on social media, what have you, because Sweet Baby Inc. comes in and introduces a woke agenda. There's no other way to describe it. They want to push a modern agenda. They want to focus on the modern audience, their own very woke agenda, and that's what they push onto these companies, and ultimately it hurts them. And it hurts them extra when groups like Sweet Baby Inc. Detected were created. This was a curation list on Steam created by an individual named Cabrutus that simply looked at the public website of Sweet Baby Inc. and listed all the games they helped create. Now, that seems like something they should be proud of as a company. However, they were very upset because people saw this list provided by Sweet Baby Inc. and said, hey, thanks for letting us know. We're not going to play this game because now we know there's a woke agenda likely in that game. Now, seeing this popular curation list, one of the employees of Sweet Baby Inc., Chris Kindred, back in 2024, came out with a full-on harassment campaign, not only encouraging people to mass report the curation list, but also to mass report the personal account of Cabrutus, who created the curation group. Now, you can see the client list that was once public on Sweet Baby Inc.'s website. They have a great range of influence in the industry. They have worked with many different companies in the gaming industry and just the entertainment industry generally. And once it became more well-known knowledge about their influence, well, the usual suspects like Kotaku came out and tried to run defense for Sweet Baby Inc., who found some new popularity. And that was popularity they did not want to have. Sweet Baby Inc. loved working in the background without anyone focusing on them. That was their entire business model, right? But Kotaku comes out and says Sweet Baby Inc. doesn't do what some gamers think it does. They're trying to gaslight you, but over time, people keep looking into this group more and more. The truth is in people's faces, and there's no denying what this group does. In fact, now we can shift focus into the CEO, Kim Belair, who famously once said to many different game studios during a convention, you should approach the higher ups of your project you're working on and basically terrify them, threaten them with the anger of cancel culture if they don't hire someone like Sweet Baby Inc. to help consult with your projects. Now we can go forward to the most recent report coming from Fandom Pulse. This came out just 2 days ago, so let's read this here. Sweet Baby Inc. CEO Kim Belair describes white male gamers as picky babies. In quotes, I think in our industry and in so many creative industries, if you want to look at film and television and any art form, we start treating our core demographics as a fixed and static value, something that does not want to change and something that is locked in place. So despite the changing face of audiences, despite the changing face of conferences like this one, we still look at our core demographics and say, okay, they're white, cis, hetero males, and we cater almost exclusively to them. And the problem is that we don't just cater to them like, Here's something that we think you'll enjoy. We cater to them like a picky baby. We feed them the same thing we know that they love, and we keep on feeding it. We're like, here you go. We know you love it. Eat this. Eat this. So then, when they get anything else, they react as picky babies would, which would be like, oh no, thank you. I do not want this. And we've actually done this so long that what we're doing is creating an entire nation of picky babies. And they make us scared to deviate from what we actually want to do, just in case these picky babies don't want to play our games. Why do game developers hire someone like this? Is the question posed by the author here. Yeah, that's a very good question. So basically, in this quote here, Kim Belair, the CEO of this woke consulting firm that has a major influence on the gaming industry, is saying that the entire industry caters to white male gamers who are picky babies who will riot the second things don't go their way. Now, of course, if you've been paying attention at all the last couple of months, even years, you would know that that is not the case. And the comments to this tweet are all over it, okay? Let's just read a few. So you can see this comic sums it up perfectly, okay? You have the person selling a thing saying, I have made more of the thing you like. And here's the actual audience, the real customers, excited. But then you have the woke consulting firm, like Sweet Baby, saying, I do not like the thing. You are a bad person if you do not address the fact that I do not like the thing. That could be Sweet Baby, that could be the modern audience, activists, what have you. But the person selling the thing listens to the wrong person. They listen to the Sweet Babies, they listen to the activists, and they say, I have made changes to the thing. And the actual audience, the real customers, the gamers, in this case, say, that's no longer the thing we wanted. We're going to look for something else. And then the seller turns around and says, would you buy the thing, modern audience? And then the modern audience says, I never had any interest in the thing. Many, many such cases. We can look at stuff like Starfleet Academy that we recently talked about. We can talk about many different examples of franchises, even very well-established ones, focusing on the modern audience and listening to the woke consulting firms, listening to activists, and turning around saying, hey, we did all these things for this modern audience. Are you guys going to buy it? They never do. So here's an example of modern media. I would like some Mountain Dew. Here's some Mountain Dew filled with piss. And then the customer says, that's not what I asked for. And then they respond saying, dang, these toxic fans. Many such cases. Here's another reply saying, so despite the changing face of audiences, you mean the tiny modern audience? And we cater almost exclusively to them. That is a lie. For the past 10 years, they've done nothing but try to push white men out and replace them with everyone else. That's no surprise. Their games aren't selling. I mean, how many times have you seen game developers, community managers, what have you, come out and say directly, we don't want white gamers, we don't want male gamers, we don't want white male gamers, something of that variety. It is completely normalized. They feel emboldened. They feel like there's no consequences for saying this stuff, and we've seen it happen over and over again. If it hasn't been an eye-opening experience for you the last couple of years on social media with how a lot of the industry, whether it's journalists, developers, what have you, feel about gamers in general, and if you want to get specific, male gamers, white gamers, if it's not obvious how they feel about you yet, I don't know what else could happen at this point. Here's another reply saying, except we are not babies. In most cases, the people buying these games are grown adults with autonomy. You don't get to decide what we eat. You're not in charge of what we choose. It's our choice, and many choose to stay away from companies that think in the way she's describing. That's the whole point of Sweet Baby Inc. Detected, which is now evolved into DEI Detected. People don't want to engage with products and companies where the people creating it, or at least a number of the people creating it, just hate you. They just hate you for what you are. You know, characteristics you're born with. They hate you for it. Why would you ever want to support these companies? I really, how does that register to anyone? Why would you ever want to support people who hate you for who you are? Makes no sense. And then they have the audacity to wag their finger in your face and tell you you're a bad person, or in this case, you're a picky baby because you're noticing these things happening, or you have an issue, or at the very least you say, yeah, I'm not interested. It's insane. Here's another reply saying, the reason she and people like her fail is that A, cis hetero males are the most profitable audience when it comes to video games. B, their ideas lack entertainment value and appeal to unprofitable audiences. C, they think they can force people to accept and support their entertainment through mass saturation and guilt tactics. D, the only times they can manage some semblance of success is when they ride the coattails of popular brands, and those brands then quickly lose appeal and profit by alienating cis hetero males. Now that's the scary part about Sweet Baby Inc. and all of this stuff. I mean, the companies they're working with are businesses. Okay, yes, they produce video games, but they are businesses. They have to make a profit, and a lot of them are greedy. Okay, they will do anything to make the most profit imaginable. And yet they keep working with the sweet babies of the world. They keep listening to this garbage that is proving over and over again to not work. In fact, it's not that it doesn't generate more profit, it almost certainly loses you profit, especially if it's discovered that you're working with a Sweet Baby Inc. And in this case, with Sweet Baby, some companies have taken a step back away. They don't publicly mention that they're working with Sweet Baby, but they still are. They are smart enough to understand that if the public discovers this connection, it's going to hurt them, but they still get work. Sweet Baby still gets work, and that is the disturbing part. Again, it just makes no sense from a business perspective that they would just keep driving themselves into the ground by working with a company like this. And here's one last little one here. Our games aren't made for you straight males. Don't like them, don't play them. Okay. How dare you not play our games? Many such cases. That sort of alienating that we see over and over again with these companies. It just keeps happening. But yeah, that is basically the update with Sweet Baby Inc., who remains private on social media. And anyone who is not seen through a company like this is just wearing blinders or they have some agenda to push. But I just wanted to share that update. The latest quotes from the CEO blaming the picky babies, aka the white male gamers, who apparently have the whole industry at their feet, catering to them constantly, despite the fact that your observations of the last couple of years would tell you otherwise. But anyways, that's going to do it for today's video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.